Doug Cunnington here from Niche Site Project and the Doug Show podcast. This is, I guess we call it the Doug Show Live. I think I call it that every now and then. Let me know in the chat how you're doing. You could say hello and let me know where you're from. If it's your first time on, welcome. It's great to have you on. If you happen to be watching the replay, hit the like button. Let me know. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. Any comment will do. You can leave something nice, leave something funny. I like to laugh. I like comedy a lot. So if you have a little joke or something like that, leave a comment. I will answer all the comments on this particular video. So I'm not super good with the comments because there's so many of them and there's so many videos. It's really hard to keep up. But if you do it on this video, especially like in the next 24 hours, it will kick ass. I will appreciate it very, very much. And today we have several things we're going to talk about. One cool thing is this pretty slick, beautiful, wonderful software that I use for doing these added a sound effect, like just ability. So I didn't have that before, and I think some other people are pretty happy about it too. Yeah, that's right. So we have some sound effects that I could play every now and then. I'll try to be sparing, but it's a new feature like today that I just got. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to abuse it a little bit today. So with that said, I do see we have a few folks on. Let me hop over here and see what it is I'm supposed to talk about today. And it's Josh from the 5-Figure Niche Site course. And welcome. Good to have you on, buddy. And if you have any specific questions, because you're a member of the course, I'll be more friendly. Basically, I'll be nicer. I have been called out a couple of times, and I think it's accurate that what word do people use? I'm not specifically rude, but yeah, sometimes I'm not super polite. So, okay. Well, with that said, usually I try and be just okay, not a dick. But Josh, if you have anything, if you need anything, buddy, just let me know. So today, and I'm trying to click over to the notes that I actually created for like the session today so that I could see it. I did start a few minutes late, which that happened. I had to pee, to be honest with you. And we have the best pen diary out there. Awesome. And we have Women's Fashion Hub and Shaj, what's going on? Dennis, longtime friend of the show. And we got a few things to talk about. I'm going to talk about a speaking gig that I have coming up. For longtime fans, you will know that I've been talking about speaking for a little while, but basically I was sitting on my hands. I wasn't really doing too much to make it happen other than talking about it in a kind of sometime in the future. I just wasn't doing anything right now, but I got invited to speak at a Google site, which is really cool. So I'll talk about that some. I published 50 articles in 30 days while I was off grid. And you know what? It's a pretty cool story. And I mentioned it, back last summer when I was actually traveling, but I haven't talked about it much recently. So I will show you first part of the trip that I was on. So I took like 30 plus days off and got a bunch of work done. So that was super cool. Also going to talk about nootropics again and sleep because I didn't get as much sleep this week. Unfortunately, little Georgie was sick. She's sitting at my feet. She's feeling much better now. Thank goodness. And then I have a few highlights. So Carl Jensen, financially independent, Mr. 1500. I got a clip from him if you didn't watch the full interview. And then I have one from Christy. I have one from Ron Stefanski, and I think there may be one other one, but that could be it. So we'll talk about a few of those things and then a few of the questions that are popping through if it is relevant to the things that I want to talk about today. And I want to come back to some of the folks in the live chat, which is beautiful. Thank you for joining live. So Marty, a longtime friend of the show, and he says, I'm no Stern. That is so true. So true. Justin. What's going on? Got to catch up with Justin this past week. And okay, when we do have some questions out there, and I know some of the fine people in the chat, like Marty, who you'll see his name in blue because he's a moderator and a super nice guy. So he's very helpful most of the time, and more helpful than me most of the time. So I see him answering questions already. We have Manure, and good to have you on. And yeah, some folks will help in the chat if you have some questions. There is an FAQ section on Niche Site Project where, as you would imagine, there are frequently asked questions, the exact ones that folks asked today. I know it's cool to hear me answer it live, but we are sticking to a little bit of a format today. So first off, there is a link in the description here for Pubtelligence, and that is put on by Ezoic. I didn't demo this before. Let me make sure that I don't have any windows showing here that I don't need to have showing, like text from my wife where I'm like, hey, you need to fill out these forms for the lenders, which I'm going to talk about later today. And let me see if I can actually talk about and share the screen here without, there's so many things on my window. All right, we're going to try this. Cool. I think this works. And yeah, cool. This works. So Pubtelligence, New York City. It's hosted at Google on April 3rd. This is a free to attend event. I'm going to be speaking there. I wanted to let people know because I like offhand mentioned it here and there. And then I chatted with some people that I'm friends with, like Marty and some other folks. And I was like, hey, did you know I'm speaking at an event? It's held at a Google place in New York City, and people didn't know. So I was like, well, I need to tell people about it. So basically, Google and Ezoic, they are putting on an event. Again, it's free to attend. You have to apply. And there's some more details here, but you can see, people look nice. They seem to be having a good time there. And why should people attend? Well, I'm going to be there. So number one, if you're watching this, you probably care at least a tiny bit about what I'm talking about. And it's an exclusive publishers only event that features access to world leading experts like myself. And the event will focus on trends in digital publishing, actionable ways to impact monetization, SEO, audience growth, and digital infrastructure. And it's for like big media companies, digital publishers, bloggers, and website owners of all shapes and sizes. So you can have like a smaller site or a larger one. So, and I thanks again for everyone in the chat. I'm going to hop back over, but I'm going to try and pay attention. This also means you see the countdown, 41 days. So I have 41 days to write my talk and practice it really hard and make sure that I don't fuck up. So it'll be very exciting. It'll be by far the biggest crowd that I've ever talked to. And I think it'll be 100 plus people, and it's very exciting. New York City. So you need to apply, and space is limited. I was chatting with one of my friends, my contacts over at Ezoic, Sarah, and she was like, there's a few spots left. So, apply and see what you can do. And I don't know the criteria, to be honest with you, for anything specific. And let's check out some of the other speakers. So when they asked me, I was like, wow, this is very scary, to be honest with you, but I had to say yes. So I just made sure my schedule was clear, which it kind of isn't. So I cleared it out and then hopped over and they updated some stuff. And I was like, oh, holy cow, how did I weasel my way onto this stage? So Barry Schwartz, founder of Search Engine Roundtable. I'm sure many people have heard of him. We have some of the big hitters from Ezoic. So Jennifer Romaine, so global director of sales, and then Mike Smith, the CDO of Hearst Magazine's digital media. That is a big company. That is crazy, if you ask me. Tyler Bishop, very smart dude, extremely smart, the CMO over at Ezoic. Me, and then Tyler Benedict. And I actually heard about his site from other people as well. And I think he may have spoke at Pubtelligence in the past. But anyway, you have some very qualified people and me. So do check it out. Hop over to the page. It looks like I'm not sure if I would prefer to speak in the morning. I'm just fresher in the morning, and I have the just before the break in the afternoon time frame. So not the most ideal, but it's only 30 minutes, so I can keep it tight, and that is okay. So we're gonna do the best we can with what we have, basically. So it's going to be awesome. Very excited about speaking there, and hope some people can check it out. Hope people can check it out, meet some folks live, and that sort of thing. So it looks to be like a pretty intimate crowd, and everyone that I've talked to that have been there before, then they love it. They seem to have a really good time with it. So, all right. So that is Ezoic. So again, free to attend, New York City, early April. If you're in the area, definitely check it out. I think I've been chatting with a few people, a lot of interviews recently, and just trying to get a lot of work done before I move, before the talk, and just like do a ton of work, and then I could pause and make sure I can concentrate very hard on this Ezoic talk. I want to do a good job with it. Okay, I'm going to hop over to the chat just because I hear it blowing up over there. And AR Skills says, guide me about commercial words or something like that. Okay, and I think some people are answering your question. Oh, David, what's up? David Goldstein, so you couldn't get an invite. Oh, if you have any details on that, then let me know, because I don't know any of the specific criteria. And Justin mentions that, is the conference going to be live streamed or replayed? So I think that they record the sessions and that they might be available on YouTube in the future. And I haven't talked to them about that specifically. I definitely want to get my reel so I can have that to potentially speak at other places. But basically, I saw other talks out there from previous years, so I think they may publish it in the future. And all right, and Marty's laying down the law. So basically, if just ask your question once, I'll let you know at the end when I'm actually taking questions. But if you ask more than once, I'm a dick. Okay, I'll just tell you. If you're asking more than once and you're being an asshole in the chat, I will kick you out. So basically, it's a one strike area. Sorry, just no one wants you to keep typing the same question over and over again. All right, and as I'm going through, all right, and I'm going through the chat. It's very amusing here. Brendan, what's going on? I got your email, and I need to respond back. That sounds awesome. I'm pretty sure you're the person that emailed me. There's not that many Brendans out there. So what's going on? Wesley, thank you. Appreciate it. And okay, and David mentions you're sure you're not big enough, and I imagine there's some traffic threshold out there for it. So cool. Thanks everybody for the kind words. I think it'll be fine. I'm sticking in my wheelhouse. Let me pick whatever I wanted to talk about. Of course, they encourage you to talk about what you're the most excited about, what you're an expert in and most comfortable in. So keyword golden ratio. And I mean, I've been talking about it for a while, so I feel like maybe I'm running it into the ground. However, most people have not heard of it. So if you're watching this, you've heard me talk about it a bunch, but a lot of people, they never got deep into keyword research, let alone our little obscure part of the world here. So with that said, I'm going to talk a little bit about publishing 50 articles in 30 days while I was on vacation basically off the grid. And I'm going to show you some of the off the grid time because, and I may lose some people here because this is basically just a vlog. So it's a vlog of me and my wife in Anchorage, Alaska, and my parents joined me as well. You'll see some pictures and a little video, and Georgie came along too. But basically I drove, it's about 6,000 miles up there, and I think it was maybe like 7,000 down because we took a different route. That is a long way. So I took like a month off. We're driving like 8 to 10 hours a day, something like that. Maybe more like 6 to 8 hours. Sorry, 6 to 10 hours per day on average. And it was awesome. I love the long road trip and like seeing the country, seeing North America. I actually never traveled into Canada before that. And then, like I said, I was off the grid. I literally wasn't doing any work, especially like in this area. I checked my email to make, because I have like personal stuff going on. But anyway, I'm going to play a little clip of like what you're able to do if you actually sort of nurture an online business, and if you can like manage people to do work for you. All right, so a couple minutes here, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you how I was able to do it. Hello, my friend. Hey. Go. Oh my God. Freaking out here. All right. Whoa. All right, we are heading out. There's a little Georgie. We're gonna be driving down to Whittier. There you go, Georgie.
Nice.
She's the one bringing invasive seeds.
You have bear spray.
Yep, beer spray, and then I brought my knife too, so if I have to stab something in the eye. All right, and that was footage of me on vacation for like 30 days. Went to Alaska. It was last summer, and it was fantastic. Super, super awesome. I can't recommend it enough. If you have time and the opportunity, yes, it's a very long way, but I mean, it's so cool. It's so cool to do like a long drive like that. I haven't published all the vlogs from. Actually, I've published 0 of them, so I have like a few of them in the queue. But I kind of wanted to like talk about planning the trip, doing the trip. I had a few discussions with my dad while we were on the road, and because he did part of the planning, I did part of the planning. We captured all of the costs and just all the details. So it was super fun, super fun. So anyway, I went on vacation during that time and had a bunch of work done. I guess that's more important. So I had a bunch of work done, and basically I hired a company called Content Development Pros. I'm an affiliate for them. So if you actually like buy anything from them that through my link, then I get a commission, which I appreciate. But um, but basically you could hire like individual writers if you want to and hire a manager. But the cool thing with a company like Content Development Pros or Content Refined, I used both of them while I was gone. Basically, you're able to get a ton of work done without babysitting. So you have one point of contact. In the past, I've hired writers individually, so I had to, talk to each one of them. I could have hired a manager to interface with them, but I kind of, didn't want to relinquish all the control. And basically, I hired them, told them I wanted like 50 articles done in about 30 days. I sent over the list of keywords, and the important part is I used a spreadsheet, which if you happen to sign up with Content Development Pros, let me know. Send me, the confirmation email, and so I can verify that you actually signed up, and then I can share my personal status sheet. So let me make sure it's not exposing anything that I shouldn't be exposing here. And boom. So basically, this is it, right? You can make it more complicated. And I started off with a very simple sheet and then slowly added more. But from my project management days, I mean, this is literally how we manage like multi-million dollar projects with, the headings were different, but basically you put in keywords, some other details, you have some statuses, and that way you don't have to manage things via email. So managing a project via email is very difficult to do unless you happen to set up a specific system on a specific email inbox so that the only thing happening in there is project management. You can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. So anyway, this is the sheet that I used, and basically at that point in time, I sent it over to Content Development Pros. I had a couple VAs who were just watching like my email while I was gone, in case there was any sort of like catastrophic problem, and then they kept poking and prodding and moving things forward while I was on vacation. So literally, all these articles were published while I was gone in 30 days, more than one article per day, and it was through Content Development Pros. Cool thing, in parallel, I had another company working on improving existing content. So they worked on, I can't remember, either 5 or 10 articles for me to improve them. They use a sophisticated, very expensive content tool called what's it called? Market Muse. So I worked with Content Refined, and basically they identify some posts that have good potential to improve in rankings or get more traffic through long tail keywords and just optimization. They go through, they analyze, they make those changes for you. They'll, if you give them the login, if you want them to, they'll go right into your WordPress dashboard and put it in. And that's what Content Development Pros did for me too. I created an editor account for them, so they couldn't do anything crazy. They couldn't access the administrative kind of stuff, but they were able to create post and edit post. So that's how all this work was done. Very straightforward, and it's amazing. It's amazing to be able to get all that work done. So I'm going to hop back to the chat for a minute because I see Francis asked a question. Will Link Whisper and Amazon plugin, are they really important to boost earnings in blah, blah, blah? No. That's my straight up answer. If you need them, right? If you need them to do a thing, then they potentially can help you, but you know, you don't have to use any of those things, right? You can do them manually. They can save you some time, but just by using them, there's no guarantee that you're actually going to earn more money. Most people will just say yes, but only if you need it. Only if you need it. And Justin asked a question about like a done for you site, whether I've changed my opinion. And no, I have not really ever been a fan of like the done for you sites. They sell like fucking crazy though. You know, these companies are making shitload of money out there. And personally, I'm glad I never went that route. But man, like I can outsource some stuff, and man, I could be making so much more money if I was like selling sites. I do partner with them because some people, even against my advice, they're like, "Hey, I want to buy a done for you site," and the companies that I work with are good. They're trustworthy, and you know, people do earn money after buying those sites. So, all right, moving through. Francis asks about the best theme for Amazon sites. There's no best theme. It really doesn't matter much. And Francis, you're in the course, buddy. Um, I recommend a couple in there, but you know, personally, I stick to like one theme that loads fast. But it really doesn't matter if you have a favorite theme, then go for it. And basically, Francis, I see you're using free themes in WordPress, so I would probably just like pay for some theme because usually the security is going to be a little better unless you're using like one of the themes created by and managed by Automatic. And Automatic is the parent company of WordPress. All right, I'm just pounding through here. Just checking the chat. And for the people that missed, and I know several people are joining, I'm doing a talk at Google coming up pretty soon in like 41 days. So if you missed that announcement, you can go back to the beginning, rewatch the first like 10 minutes or so where I talk about it. Amelia's on, what's happening. I interviewed Amelia recently. I interviewed a ton of people in the last couple weeks, just trying to queue everything up. And I can't remember. I don't know when you're on the schedule, but I'll let you know, Amelia. Oh, and Jason's on. So cool thing, Jason. I interviewed Matt Giovanisi. Matt Giovanisi 2 days ago. It was Wednesday. I went to his studio. I recorded video and I recorded the audio, of course. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think he may be publishing that interview that I did. I interviewed him. I think he may publish it on Money Lab coming up soon. So not 100% sure, but actually gave you a small shout out, Jason, just because you were like, hey man, ask him about link building. So asked him about link building a little bit, and you could actually see as he's answering, my stomach was turning a little bit, but in a good way, in a friendly in a friendly way. So we talked about it a little bit, and yeah, it was a great interview. I think it was like an hour and a half or something. So the interviews are going longer and longer. Like Amelia and I were just talking and talking, and yeah, I mean, pretty close to an hour and a half. Very cool. Very cool. Long for YouTube, but I think hopefully people dig it. Um, they do go on for a while, but it's really just like a nice conversation. You can go on tangents. You don't have to be in a rush. I interviewed someone a couple weeks ago, and I felt like, oh man, they're so big, they're so busy, and I felt a little bad. I didn't want to like, you know, take away from this person's time. So I like tried to like kind of rush it a little bit. And there were certain threads of like questions that I maybe should have gone down and I didn't. So, and quick note, if you're watching this, thanks a lot. If you're not subscribed to the channel, Subscribe to the channel. It'll be much appreciated. We're getting really close to 18,000 subscribers, and I am trying to like branch out, not necessarily grow the channel for the vanity metric, but I guess maybe it is exactly for that. So subscribe to the video or to the channel overall. And I'm publishing more and more and more. It's very awesome once you get like the system set up, because I don't feel like I'm really killing myself. So, all right. Ed says, why don't I like pre-made sites? To me, it seems like it cuts out a lot of the heavy lifting early on, so you could focus on the important stuff more quickly. Cool. Good question, Ed. So I wrote a whole I was actually pretty proud of this post that I did, because I was like, you know what? I think I don't like the pre-made sites. People are selling the dream, right? I mean, I sell the dream too, but I'm also telling you, hey, you can get this dream, but you have to like, hike for 20 miles. It's really tough to, get this shit done. And you're going to make mistakes and all that. So there's a couple reasons with the pre-made sites. And I don't have the link handy, but basically, I invited a bunch of people that sell pre-made sites to answer the question, and it was a roundup post. So I went out there and I was like, hey, I don't like these pre-made sites, so we're going to do a debate. So I'm inviting some people that sell courses who probably don't want people to buy pre-made sites, and then I invited these services that create them and sell them, and they usually don't have a course associated with it. Sometimes they have some training, but you know, they're focusing on selling the product. So basically, number one, let's say I wanted to get into it, Ed. Let's say I wanted to sell pre-made sites, because I got this audience. People want the shortcut, like you're saying. It cuts out the heavy lifting, so you could focus on more important stuff. So I could create cookie cutter sites with the same theme, the same layout, and hire some writers that'll do a marginally good job. And then I could find, say, 15 different niches, find a handful of different keywords for each one, and just churn those motherfuckers out. I could just I could hire content development pros. They could write like crazy. I don't have to do anything. I'm just sort of managing like a puppet master, and then I could sell them for like a huge margin. And then if they work or not is not my problem, not my responsibility. So from a profitability standpoint, it's fantastic. But you could see, right? So maybe I find 15 niches, find a handful of keywords. I could just keep creating like the same sites and just like increase that margin, increase that profit area. So from that standpoint, I'm just like, I don't feel good about that. Can they work? Sure. But it's really easy for like a bad player, right, to just resell essentially the same kind of products, the same niches, the same stuff over and over again. So the big problem, Ed, all right, so the big problem is if you don't know what you're doing, then you end up with a site, and sure, some of the heavy lifting has been done, but you don't know how to do keyword research. You don't know how to do like the basics of like managing WordPress. So you end up with like a car that you don't know how to drive. Basically, it's like a little too advanced, and sure, you could learn it, but you kind of need someone to teach you. So basically that's my stance, and I as much wrote that. I didn't cuss as much. And then I had all the other people that wanted to sell their products, and they gave their arguments too. And it's over at nichesiteproject.com somewhere. But it's like basically done for you sites versus like building it on your own. And if you're just getting started, I would highly encourage you to like figure out the nuts and bolts. You will learn skills that will help level you up and like stack your skills overall. And you'll be, better off in the future, just in general, because you'll understand how to do the mechanics, the basic mechanics of like building a site, finding a handful of keywords, and so on. So basically, a lot of people, and it was great for me selling my course, right? Because people will buy a site, they don't know what to do with it. And then they come to me and they're like, hey, I can implement some of these things and, you know, maybe revive the site, because basically you get a site that like gets no traffic. There's some content on there that could be pretty shitty, and you don't know that they've keyword stuffed or is kind of garbage. So anyway, that's my that's my like stance on it overall. And by the way, I do sell as an affiliate some of those products out there. So people, I couldn't ignore it. So many people were like, which done for you services do you like? And yeah, basically basically human proof designs. I think there's a link in the description for like a 5% discount for any of the products over there. And then brand builders is very good. And I mean, I know the people that are running those companies. So long answer to a short question, Ed. Do check out the post on Niche Site Project because it's a balanced view and the people that sell those products chimed in. All right. And let's see, I think we're, oh, and Justin mentions, yeah, it sounds like a good business model for the company, but not so much for the users, especially if you're new. And Marty says, that's it. I've talked to several people who were frustrated and they gave up. So, yep, I think that is totally it. And Josh mentioned that his first site was $100 on eBay and it didn't work out too well. So anyway, Content Development Pros, they helped me publish a ton of content while I was on vacation. It took a little setup time. And the key thing is before I did those 50 articles, I hired them to do a test run, right? So this 50 articles in 30 days, that was for the age site case study. Before that, I hired them to write 60 articles for me so I could work out the kinks. All right. So I wanted to work out the kinks and make sure I understood what was going to happen when I went off the grid and I wasn't paying attention to what was going on. And someone else on my team was just going to check in occasionally with Content Development Pros. And that is why I developed the spreadsheet to manage the whole thing. So there was one central place that everyone would be able to see the status of every single article. And it was very clear, very easy to use. And the Content Development Pros team has access to the spreadsheet so that they can make updates. They don't need to send emails. And then everyone knows what's happening in the specific dates. All right. So as we are moving on here, what else do we have? I think we have another clip that I could show here. And this one's more relevant. One of my good friends, Ron Stefanski over the 1 Hour Professor, he's crushing it on YouTube currently. So highly encourage you to check it out. I did an interview with him. I've done several, but I did an interview with him where he was growing a site from scratch. And I think he got up to, I think he's at like 800 to 900 visitors a day. Currently, the site's about a year old. And he was talking basically about adding more content, publishing more content, getting more keywords to rank, getting more pages to rank by publishing more content. And of course, you can imagine that helps you earn more money. So here's Ron talking about more content, more rankings, and more money.
I have no idea how big it's going to go. I mean, realistically, I would say probably between 1,000 to 2,000 informational pages in the directory area, maybe even more. I haven't looked at the list in a while because, like I said, I literally give my writers a spreadsheet and they pick from there and they just write and write and write. So I think around 1,000 to 2,000 informational pages and probably informational blog posts. I think we could probably get somewhere between 500 to 1,000 there. So yeah, so total size, it'll be a really big site once it's officially done. When I started, I started it, and I think that we just launched with 10 articles, I think is what I did, because, I'm not trying to, necessarily, I wasn't even worried about monetization at all until I hit 10,000 page views a month. That was the number. I said, I will not monetize until I hit that. And I think that's just important in the beginning to get people to come to the site, enjoy it, look around, you get your time on site up, all that stuff. I don't know that that's necessary for every site or anything, but that was the number that I did because I already have revenue from other sites and things. So I'm not, really panicking over that. So yeah, so I started around there and then I monetized it around 10,000. But yeah, I don't know exactly how big it's going to go, but I think we started with around 10 blog posts or 10 total pages. I shouldn't say blog posts. I think it was 10 total pages in the beginning.
Okay. And then it's a big range, of course, but
Yeah.
how are you going to gauge like, hey, I'm going to publish more? How are you going to make the decision to keep going bigger or to start limiting it?
Start scaling back. So my biggest thing when I started out, to give you an idea of the content that we were creating, it started out as 8 directory type pages every single week. So that's just to be clear, that's templated really well. So I basically wrote the first 2 myself. I templated it like crazy and said, okay, this is where this section goes. This is where this section goes. So anybody who's doing it, I can get any writer because all they have to do is do the research, find out the information that quote unquote plugs into that section, and then write that section. So I really, really believe in templates for these things. But I started with that, and over time, it's just kind of, that's been the easiest thing, is just to have those templates there and people write from those. But in general, like when to know to, step on the gas pedal or step on the brake, it's mostly been, let's set cruise control for about a year. Because I always tell myself, if I'm going to start a website, I have to take a whole year. I tell anybody that's like a student of mine, anything like that, like give it a year. If you don't give it a year, you're not doing yourself justice. So I gave myself a full year, and last month was a year, and it started to actually show some pretty significant growth that month. So that kind of gives you a timeline. Like I was seeing a little bit of money in month 8, which I think was kind of quick. It wasn't a crazy amount of money, but it was kind of quick. And then at a year is basically where I really started to see the growth. So we actually just put our foot on the gas pedal because I saw, hey, we're increasing the amount of content now because basically it's doing well. So right now I have 12 pages, like reference pages being created. And I'm trying to think, we were doing 1 blog post a week. Now it's going to be 3 blog posts a week. So that's what we're doing. And then in terms of like, when do we slow down? If a website is profitable or giving me money, I don't slow down until I literally run out of ideas. I just don't believe in that. And right now, this website isn't, every month, it's in the hole probably, around $800-900, but that's better than the $1,200 it was before. And I don't usually stop until, like I said, I run out of ideas, because I know the more content you put out and the more it ranks, the more money you're going to get. I mean, it's just a simple math right there. Like it's just the trend that it follows. So yeah, I'm hoping, it'd be nice eventually when I'm actually paying for all the content with this website every single month. I've pretty much reached a limitation. My writer that I have currently, I've pretty much reached a limitation on her time with how much more she can write. I could hire another writer, but I'm kind of like, that's the thing. This website, I spent around $15,000. But it hasn't felt like that because I've been investing every single month. For a year, I've invested a little bit more than $1,000 a month. So it doesn't feel like I invest. I'm not taking 15 grand and throwing it in and like ordering articles. I'm not doing that approach. I'm doing it consistent, and slow. So
In each month, you've seen a little more growth. You've seen a little bit more traffic than the previous month. So like you're getting good feedback, so you're confident to continue investing.
Yeah. As long as my traffic is the same or growing, I'll keep pushing on it. If I saw 2 or 3 months of decline, or 2 or 3 months of a website being completely stagnant, I would probably at that point look into link building or possibly changing my content strategy. But in this particular instance, that just hasn't happened yet. And Google is continually rewarding the website, continually sending more traffic, like almost every single day. So I'm seeing that trend, and don't fix it if it's not broke. So I'm just kind of like, all right, let's just create more because apparently I'm doing something right.
All right, that was Ron Stefanski over at the 1 Hour Professor. He publishes income reports, and he has for 6 years. Yeah, roughly 6 years, something like that. And he's making roughly 20K per month profit at this point in time. But he was publishing those income reports when he first started. I believe his first month showed something like $1,400 of expenses or a loss. And he's slowly grown and he's crushing it now. It's super awesome to see the trajectory. So if you're just getting started, by the way, or for the people that aren't making 20K a month, then go check it out. Like he started doing this on the side. He was publishing income reports, like it was pretty popular back in the day, circa whatever, 2014, 2013, 2014. And basically, yeah, he's just stuck with it, kept doing things that were working, and slowly just got better and better and grew his seemingly, mostly passive income. It's funny. He and I talk quite a bit, and he spends most of his time on new projects. So the things that are making him the most money are often like just running almost autonomously, and then a lot of the other areas are, you know, new, or the areas where he's spending a lot of time, they're basically like new projects and new things he's interested in. So he also does his income reports on YouTube. So that's kind of new. I think there's at least one out there. So highly recommend you check it out. And moving to another, oh, for the people that just hopped on, I'm going to be talking at Pub Intelligence. That is an event put on by Ezoic, and that is over at Google, which is super cool. It's in New York City, and I'm excited to like be a part of that. And I mean, I got invited to do it, so it's super cool. And also for the new people, there's a new feature on the application that I use, which is, I think this is called ecamm Live, and it's pretty sophisticated. I can play clips. I can do the little watermark thing over. It's over here, and then I can also play some of these different noises. So one other thing. So Pub Intelligence is put on by Ezoic, and Ezoic is a partial sponsor. They brought you some of this stuff that I'm talking about today. So thanks a lot to Ezoic. They do have a new site speed accelerator, free for 7 days. It's a trial situation. So encourage you to check it out. And they are, I mean, they do a ton of really cool stuff. It's a full platform, a full software platform over there. So check out Ezoic. Great company, and I'm happy to be working with them. And thanks everyone for, you know, congratulating me on the speaking. I think it's going to be really fun. And let's see, I think we got another clip out here as well. We can run through them, give my voice a rest. So goals and hitting milestones. So one of the most popular interviews that I have published in the last, say, month or so is from Christy. And Christy is a student in Five Figure Niche site as well. I try to mainly just talk to my students because there's enough of them out there that are doing well. And then I could brag on the people that are like doing the work, you know? So Christy is talking about hitting milestones and her goals when she was getting started. She's doing really well. And if you didn't see the full interview, if you search back, it's something like a $75,000 niche website and full interview with Christy. So I'm going to roll this one here.
So right at the beginning, and I think it was based on one of your emails that you sent out, right at the start was, you know, coming up with your why, basically, and why you want to have a niche site. And hopefully, you know, it's a reason that's a little deeper than I want to make $1 million overnight. This probably isn't the way to do that. But you would encourage us to basically come up with our why and what our goals would be. So I came up with about 10 financial milestones that I wanted to hit, just mostly based on like what I currently make for my job, because that's the only reference point I have. And then for each of those categories, I would say basically, what could that pay for? So, you know, this month it might cover my pet expenses. At this level, it would cover my mortgage. At this level, it would cover, you know, mortgage plus a vacation or something like that. So as I go along, I do kind of keep track of where I am on that milestone list. And yeah, I'm trucking along. I'm on like number 3.
Very good.
That's good.
Congratulations. I know, I mean, it's a lot of money. For most people, that's going to pay for a mortgage and a little bit more, depending on like how big of a house or whatever their domicile is. So that's awesome. I think it's interesting to note that you've been able to hit an ROI positive point pretty quickly because you've done a lot of work yourself. And I think that's impressive. Like, can you share a little bit about like the expenses and that sort of thing? You don't have to go too deep in detail, but just sort of high level.
Yep. When I looked back on all of 2019, like I said, the site made a little over $13,000 for the year. And then of that, I had about almost $9,000 that I put into it. Now, not all of that though was actually going into the site. So there was a good chunk of that was educational expenses that were
You
one
paid
time.
me.
Right. Like buying a course, because I had no idea what I was doing. And, those are investments that, like I said, that's not going to be a year over year site investment to keep it going. But I was willing to invest in the educational piece right up front. And then another probably 5,000 of that was for content. My approach was that if, I wanted to fail faster, essentially. And, because I had some disposable income that I could put into it, I wanted to really grow the content over the first year and see if the model held, right? And if it was worth putting more time and energy into. So for me, that was worth it. You definitely don't have to invest that much right away. But, again, when you think about it, if I put in, let's just say $9,000 for the first year, well, last month I made 2,500. So, like if I can put in a fair amount upfront and then get a higher functioning site with better monthly income, like that makes it back quite a bit quicker. So
Yes.
that for me is that's still worth it.
Gotcha. Yep. And some people may be thinking, oh, I can't believe like $5,000. That's a crazy amount of money. But it wasn't all at once, number one. And then you saw that what you were doing was working. So maybe you started small and then you increased the expenses as you felt comfortable with it, right?
Correct. I spent probably $500 on my first set of 10 articles that were the first ones I ever outsourced. So
cool.
Started small and made sure that I even liked doing that as an option. So
Right. Okay. And just at a broad level, one of the questions that I want to ask is like, what's the reason for the site's success? And it's you could take it in whatever direction because there's a lot of moving pieces and the way you approached it.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is I'm in there almost every day. So part of that is because I chose a niche that I'm personally interested in. I think it would be different if I was writing about something I didn't care about, vacuum cleaners or something, which I did buy a vacuum cleaner after visiting a niche site. I do want to say that, but so they are useful, but for me personally, it's not my passion. So for me, it's a lifestyle blog and I'm on it every day because I enjoy doing it. So I think that's a big piece of it, is that it wasn't something that I just started, worked on for 2 months, got bored of, and expected it to keep making a lot of money. So for me, just being able to continually be in there and like doing it, like working on it is a huge thing. The other thing I would say for me personally is that having a marketing background, the site looks professional, the content is professional. I've been a writer for years, so I spend a ton of time on editing, which I know a lot of people don't like spending time on. And it is a huge time suck. I won't lie about that. But I also feel a lot better about the content that I put out. So for me, it's worth it. It also keeps me really tuned into what content I have when I've been outsourcing things. So it's really easy to get so much content that you forget what's even out there, what you've covered, what you haven't, what you can link to. So spending more time in there editing actually helps me out, at least in the short term.
Perfect.
So having a professional looking site, nice content that's edited, and then just, being in there every day, kind of working on it. I think those are all distinguishing factors for me.
All right. And that was Christy. She has a site worth about $75K or so. And she created it from scratch in a weird niche that I never even heard of. And she did it in like 13 months. She put in, what did she say in there? $9,000 and it's worth 75,000 now. So yeah, she put it in a decent amount of money, but not all at once. It was over 13 months. And a chunk of it was to pay me for my course, but it obviously paid off and she's crushing it out there. She's having a great time. So cool. We have a couple more minutes here and I think we got a couple more clips too, maybe at least one more clip. But I'm going to just ramble on here for a second because we're buying a home soon, which is cool. We've actually a few people emailed me. They're like, hey, if you need advice on buying a home, we don't, thank you for the offer, but we've purchased a few places already in the past. We kind of know we we know our way around a little bit. And one thing that we learned is I don't know, like we're not huge fans of real estate agents because like I don't know, they always kind of made mistakes. I don't trust them. I'm very cynical now. This whole rant, very I'm like an old man, all right? So this will be a rant. Just preempt. I see people dropping off like crazy already. So this will be a little bit of a rant, but Geico, right? So I'm calling around to try to find like home insurance or like price out home insurance. And I think we were using Geico for our renter's insurance here at the apartment, and then also for like our auto, right? So we called around, or my wife did at the time, called around back in the day. We've been using Geico, seemed to be good prices, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I call up and I was like, hey, moving to a new home, want to see what you guys have to offer. And number one, they're pretty good on the phone. So they're like, oh, it's such a big investment. We really want to make sure that your home is protected and all your things are protected because it's such a big investment. We really care about you. And I'm just thinking, you don't fucking care about me. You're just trying to sell whatever. So automatically, I'm just cynical and I'm like, why is this person being nice to me? What's going on with that? That's super weird. And one time this is a complete tangent. One time I was walking through a liquor store I was shopping for some beer. It was actually right after we moved here to Longmont. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to walk around. And I sort of came around the corner and there was like this pretty woman sort of standing in the aisle, just kind of, looked like she was browsing or something. And she was like, hey, how's it going? And I looked at her. She was like in her like late 20s or something, looked like a model, basically, really pretty lady. And I was just like, why are you talking to me? I was like, this is some kind of setup. I was like, did my wife send you here to try and like bait me to chat with a beautiful woman? So I was like, no way. And then she was like, no, I'm giving samples for this some kind of, I don't know, tomato juice or some bullshit. I'm not sure. Anyway, so I was like, oh sure, I'll try whatever wares you are trying to push here. And then I left. But the point is, I'm talking to this Geico insurance person and they're like, all right, we priced it out. Like, here's the address, here's everything. And she was like, here's how much it's going to be. Oh, I'm running the algorithm to price out everything else, other competitors in your area right now to make sure we're giving you the best price. And I was like, cool, that sounds good. I wrote down the information. I was like, excellent. Thanks for your help. And she was like, oh, how do you want to pay? Do you want to pay like Visa, MasterCard? Like, how are you paying today? And I was like, I don't want to pay yet. And she was like, well, don't you want to lock it in and make sure that I've already checked. And I'm like, I want to call around and make sure this is a good rate. She was like, oh, I've already checked on our system here. So you should be good to go. And I was like, this seems weird. Why is she pressuring me to buy it right now? This seems really weird. Why doesn't she want me to look and see if there are better prices out there? And I was like, just email me the information. I was like, do you guys negotiate? Because I'm pretty sure if I go ask around and say, hey, I'll bring my auto insurance, we're moving to a new home, I'm pretty sure some other people are going to play ball and they will get your estimate and they will beat your estimate. So I was like, will you negotiate when I come back? And she was like, well, I think she said about 8 sentences, never said yes or no, but it all amounted to, we don't call it negotiate, but we'll see what we can do. So anyway, keep that in mind. I don't know. Has anyone else used Geico like that and actually called around? And it's kind of like if you have the data, right? If you have the data, then you can go around, ask people to beat the price. But if you just go on Geico's word, like Geico insurance companies do not give a fuck about you. I mean, if there's anything we could learn from like if you've ever made a claim, if you try to like submit something for health insurance, like good luck on that one. Like they're like say no like as much as possible until you get like a letter from a lawyer. I mean, it's bananas. So anyway, I will be shopping around for some home insurance, exciting domestic activities, and let's roll it into another clip here. We're going to go a little long today. Thanks everyone for hanging out. And one of my favorite interviews, although it didn't get as much play as I was hoping. I think it's going to grow in the future in views and just how much people appreciate it. But I interviewed Carl Jensen from 1500 Days. He retired at age 43, amassed a little fortune, and super cool guy. I've had beers with him before, and we had a great discussion. In this clip, he talks about the definition of retirement and his thoughts about like the future after retiring.
I actually Googled the word retirement, and the definition that came up is, I think, to cease doing work. And I hate the word retirement for that, because I haven't ceased doing anything. It has changed, and I'm doing things on my own term. But I work more than ever. I just do it because I love it. And some of it pays money, some of it does not, but it is definitely not to cease work. So retirement in our definition would be, I don't know, it's such a hard question. I guess I would say I am not retired, because retired means to stop doing something, but maybe financially independent, but that doesn't, you could say you're financially independent, but that doesn't connotate the stop work part. So I don't know, funployed, do whatever the hell I want. Someone needs to come up with a new term. Have you ever thought about what would be an accurate term to describe our situation?
I think I'm sure I heard it from some other smarter person, but like a work optional, or the work that you're doing is optional, and you have choices.
Yep.
Something like that. Because you do some stuff that's making money, and then there's some other stuff that you're just doing for fun.
Yeah. And I should also disclose that my wife works, and that was a whole other weird situation. She has a more formal employment agreement, but she does it because she loves it too. I tell her almost weekly, if you don't like this anymore, stop, don't do it anymore. She's like, no, I really get something out of this. So, and we have kids, so I need a activity that I really enjoy while they're in school. So, but yeah, a great passive income source is a spouse that works.
That is great. I have the same thing. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's passive for us at least.
Yeah. And hopefully, yeah, if you asked, Mindy is my real estate agent, Carl's wife. So hopefully this week she was in good spirits after working with us. We're high maintenance. I'll put it that way. And then I'm going to hopefully have Mindy on the show. I didn't realize she was such a prominent podcaster until a little bit after. I think I listened to like 1 or 2 episodes, and then it was like, oh, you're that Mindy. I was like, oh, whatever. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah. And by the way, you are not high maintenance at all. I have some stories I could tell you, which I will not say on the air because I don't want to hurt any feelings. But if you think you're high maintenance, nah, you're not.
Yeah. I'm like just walking in, apologizing constantly, but that's kind of my style. I don't want to be in position for anyone, you know?
Yeah, I understand. You're a thoughtful person. So
sticking with the retirement ideas, did you have like a hard time at the very end where you were like, like we see the math, but what about the risk in the future, the unforeseen just future, the consequences that you may just have no clue about?
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe I'm stupid, but from a financial standpoint, I never worried about anything. And I probably should have had, because we didn't keep super good track of our spending, and my $1 million in savings would not have been enough to retire for the 4% rule. I think most people vastly underestimate the amount of money they spend. We didn't vastly underestimate it, but we did underestimate it. But at the time, I did not worry about money at all. And part of it was I knew I could just go back to work. I was a software guy, and I still get emails, multiple per day, about jobs, which I don't ask for. I don't know where these things come from, but I'm never going to go back to a formal software job. The emotional part was very difficult, though. Like I said, I made my number a year before I stopped working, because I had worked really, really hard and built up a career for the previous 20 years. And just to let all that go, you've got the sunk cost, all the time you spent learning these programming languages, and all the time you spent working your way up. You've got this body of knowledge, so you're very valuable to your organization. Like I designed the infrastructure that our thing sat on, in addition to being a coder. And I felt kind of bad, and that was probably selfish, because no one is irreplaceable unless you're Elon Musk. But yeah, it was very hard, and I'd known these people. Often I don't think it's a good idea to become good friends with your coworkers, but I was, and I like these people a lot. And by leaving my job, I was going to leave a big part of my life behind. And I was worried about that vacuum too. Like, am I going to be bored after I leave this job? Am I going to sit around and really regret this? The thing is too, once I left my job, I probably wouldn't be able to go back to that one because I had a clearance, which would have lapsed after I quit. So once I closed that door, there was probably no going back. So yeah, the emotional part was very difficult. I kind of had to, I say, kick my ass over the edge and just do it and see what happened.
All right. If you missed the full interview with Carl Jensen, do check it out. A couple of people like Josh Brown, who I met at a meetup, well, a meetup that I threw in Atlanta. He was like, hey, I've been meaning to watch that interview. And Amelia Gardner, who also has a YouTube channel, you should check it out. She was like, hey, I watched this twice already. So very insightful. And, you know, from my perspective, it's been really cool to be able to hang out with people that are retired from corporate jobs. We think about things a little bit differently in many ways. And we also have like a little more free time. So sometimes we go hiking in the middle of the day, which is also fun. Ed asks this: do you have an opinion on the Human Proof Designs custom made niche site service for someone who has experience building sites, but not the time to put in the early work? Ed, number one, I'm an affiliate for Human Proof Designs. So if you purchase through my link, then I get a commission, which I appreciate. But keep that in mind as I'm answering the question. So you heard me earlier basically say, I really recommend building your own site from scratch. But Ed, you're saying, hey, I do have some experience, but I just don't have time to like do all the trivial stuff at the beginning, all the admin stuff. So go for it. That is the one thing that I put in that article that I mentioned before. Basically, like if you know what you're doing and you can have someone like do that preliminary work for you, then yes, it can be a great way to scale because you probably have a handful of keywords. You probably have a handful of things, in play, ready to go, but you don't have time to build the site. You don't have time to do like all the little keyword research. Maybe it's a good niche. You have like 2 or 3 keywords, but you don't know what else to add. Like you completely could go and just say, hey, here's like my thought, build it out. I'm not sure how much they work with you exactly on like the customization portion, but basically, it can save you a lot of time and you can get things done without like having to babysit it. And then Ed, you say you're going to use my link. You could also save 5%, my friend. There's like a coupon code. So it's in the description probably, or at least on the Age Site case study page. So you can get to it there. And Derek is on. What's up? Good to see you. And I got a jet here in a second. I actually have to call my real estate agent, Carl's wife. So small world around here. Awesome. Thanks for the support on the podcast. You say you listen to 2 hours each day while commuting to work. That's fantastic. Really appreciate it. Mohammed, what's up? Marty, thanks for monitoring the chat. Thanks for everyone, answering questions, helping each other out. I believe it helps me not get stressed out as I'm doing the live streams here, and I can just talk about the things that I want to talk about and then occasionally hop over. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. If you're not signed up for the email list, please go to nichesiteproject.com, click the green button, enter your name and email address. You will get many templates. You'll get a lot of templates, including some of the ones that we talked about today. You will get emails, not too many, but you'll get some emails that basically, I guess, help you progress through like building a niche site, some other little random pieces of stuff in there too. All right. So thanks a lot, everyone. We will catch you next week. All right. We'll catch you next week.